All right, welcome to seated yoga. We're going to start in a really comfortable position. So, thinking about maybe rocking your hips back and forth to find a place that you feel really grounded. And of course, you can do this on a chair or on a bed or on the floor, whatever feels right to you. And just kind of sinking the hips down into your chair, really seeing where the feet are on the floor. And if it feels good, kind of rocking them to the outside where the pinky toes are and the inside where the big toes are, finding that nice, even, medium, middle ground. And then as we root down through the hips, we'll get tall through the spine. Maybe bring the shoulders up to the ears and back and down. So the shoulders are relaxed, the spine is tall, the hips are grounded. And if you like, you can close your eyes. Just experience, what does it feel like to take a pause in your body today? If there are any places that you feel tense or tight, or maybe you're experiencing any discomfort, send your breath into those places. See if you can soften them around the edges. See if you can make yourself just the tiniest bit more comfortable. Everything I cue is a suggestion, so make it work for you in your body today. We don't always have the same abilities, so come with an open heart and an open mind. Do what you can and do what feels right rather than what you think you should be doing. You know your body best. And as we settle in, I invite you to pay attention to your breath, to find out, where do you feel the breath in your body? Is it coming in through your nose or your mouth? Is it filling the chest? Can you feel it in your side ribs? Can you breathe into your back? Into your upper back, your mid back. Can you breathe into your lower back? And then I'll invite you to bring the breath into the belly. These don't have to be huge breaths, but engaging the diaphragm is a really nice way to help draw the air into the bottom of the lungs, help get your whole body involved in the breathing. Let the belly rise on the inhale and sink on the exhale. And then if you like, I invite you to set an intention for your practice. Could be staying with the breath. Could be approaching every pose with a curiosity or a beginner's mind, being gentle with yourself, or anything else you're trying to cultivate or do with your yoga practice. And then send that intention out into the universe. Let the universe conspire to help make it so. And as you inhale, imagine the breath coming up the front side of the body. And as you exhale, imagine it coming over the crown of the head and down the back side of the body. Inhale to lengthen the front, and exhale to send the breath down the spine, into the tailbone, into the sits bones, back into the chair. And when you're ready, tuck the chin to the chest, feel the stretch down the back of the neck. Take a few breaths here, maybe opening the shoulders a bit. And if the eyes are closed, you can gently blink open the eyes. And we'll slowly circle the neck in one direction, feeling into all of those muscles that help keep our head upright. Our head is pretty heavy and they do a lot of work. If you find a place that feels stiff or tight, you can linger there for a moment. Breathe into the stiffness, breathe into the tightness, and then carry on. If you hear any pops or clicks, that's okay as long as there's no pain. Pain doesn't belong anywhere in yoga. But I can hear a little bit of the snap, crackle, pop in my neck as well. So if you're hearing that, it's okay. And then we'll switch the other direction, whichever direction you were going. We'll go the other way. Nice and slow and gentle. And then coming back to your nice tall seat, maybe shaking it out a little bit and rolling the shoulders a few times in one direction. Nice and slow again. There's no rush with any of this. Keep the breath nice and steady. And then the other direction. Bring the shoulders up towards the ears and back down. And shaking it out as we move from the shoulders down into the wrists and hands. We'll make some claws and rotate the wrists in one direction. And as always, if this doesn't work in your body, choose a different variation. And the other direction, lingering on any areas that are particularly stiff or tight or tense. And then we'll do the same with all the fingers together in one direction. See how that changes, how it feels in your wrists. And the other direction. And then shaking that out. And we'll move further down from the wrists into the hips and do a few hip circles. These can be nice and slow, and they can be as small or as big as you like. And if this doesn't feel good for your balance, if you're feeling a little bit wobbly, you can grab onto your chair to give you a little bit more support. It's really up to you. Obviously, the bigger you go, the more out of balance you might feel. So experiment with what feels good today. And then we'll go the other direction, going from one hip, tipping the pelvis, the other hip, and tipping the pelvis back. All the while keeping the breath nice and stable and calm. And then coming back to that nice, tall, upright, imagining the breath coming up the front, going over the head, and down the back into the tailbone, into the sits bones. And we'll do a side bend from here. So options to bring the arms overhead, grab for opposite wrists or opposite elbows, or you can always do a side bend just with the hands by the side. It's up to you, but our goal is to get the left side nice and long and reach up and over. Breathing into that left side body from the armpit down to the hips, getting nice and tall on that side. Breathing, if the breathing gets belabored, you can always just come out a little bit. No need to go super deep. And then we'll rotate to look down towards the floor and feel the stretch in the mid-back, probably, maybe down to the hips, pressing into the feet. And then sweeping the left arm down and the right arm up. We'll do our side bending on the other side. And again, options to grab for opposite elbows or to grab on to the right wrist with the left hand. Or you can always side bend with both hands on the chair or one hand on the chair for balance. Pressing into the right hip, getting nice and long down the right side. Breathing in and out nice and slowly. And then rotating the torso to look towards the ground, moving the stretch from the side body into the back. And breathing here. Seeing what you feel like. And finding your own edge in the pose. And then slowly using those ab muscles to come back up to a nice tall seat, and feel free to shake it out or wiggle or move your hips, whatever you need to do to counter that pose. And move from our side bending into some hips and legs, starting just with sliding the right foot forward to straighten the leg any amount. You can keep the toes on the ground or you can lift the foot up. And then bending the right leg back and bringing the heel in towards the back wall or the back of the chair. And then again, extending the right foot out, maybe keeping the toes on the floor or lifting the leg up, flexing the toes back. And then bending the knee, pulling the heel back, keeping the heel on the floor, pulling it back towards the back wall. And that can be really challenging. So you can always use the hands or use a strap or whatever you need. And then pressing into the right foot, feeling the left foot get light. Maybe the left foot comes up an inch off the floor. And relax. And again, pressing into the right foot, letting the right hip be heavy, the right foot be heavy, letting the left foot be light, and maybe the left foot lifts off the floor, even if it's just a tiny amount. Engaging the core, keeping the breath, and then relaxing. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. So starting with moving the left heel out, maybe flexing the left toes back, bringing the left foot off the floor, and then pulling the heel back towards the back wall, engaging the muscles in the left leg. And then again, extending the left leg out, maybe lifting the foot off the floor, maybe flexing the toes back. And again, you can be working on all of this even if the foot only moves a little bit or not at all. It's still developing the neural networks. It's still running through the script, developing neuroplasticity, and then sliding the left foot back under the chair towards the back wall. And relax for a moment, bringing the feet back to about hip width distance. And this time we'll press into the left foot, press into the left hip. Let that be really solid and heavy. Let the right leg be light, and maybe you lift the right foot off the floor, even if it's just an inch. And relax. Take a breath. And then press into the left foot, the left hip. Make that really solid and heavy, and maybe as the right foot feels lighter, you lift the right foot up off the floor, even if it's just a minuscule amount, and then set it back down. And to do a counter pose to that, maybe you windshield wiper the legs, or maybe you open and close them, or march. Whatever feels good in your body, ask your body what it wants to do and do that. And then working deeper into the hips, we'll do a hip opener starting with the right side. So you can either cross at the ankles and let the right knee fall open, or you can cross at the knees and let the right knee fall open. And this might already feel like a lot, which is great. We're looking for a stretch on the outside of the right thigh and into the right hip. But if this feels pretty good, and it doesn't matter where the knee is, for some people the knee is going to be really high, and for other people the knee is going to be really low. That doesn't really matter. If you want more, we're going to sit up nice and tall so we protect the lower back, engage the abs, and hinge forward from the hips any amount. And at some point you'll be like, yep, I've got it. This is all lighting up. I can definitely feel it. And then breathe into that stretch. Some people like to hold the outside of the foot and the outside of the knee. We don't want to put a lot of pressure right on the joint, but holding on the fleshy bit of the thigh or putting pressure here, that can sometimes help with stability. You're also always welcome to hold on to the chair or the back of the chair. If you're leaning forward, that can help just make you feel more stable. And at some point you might feel like you can lean forward a little bit more, and you take a breath, engage the abs, get nice and tall, and hinge forward any amount. And then breathe. Wherever you are in the pose, it should be a place you feel like you could be for many breaths. If it feels really super intense and you're just waiting to come out of it, find a little bit gentler version. Come up a little bit. Find the position where you feel like, okay, this is good. This feels doable to me today. Even if it's not the deepest version of the pose you've ever done. There's no Olympics for deepest yoga pose. What we're trying to do is match the breath to the movement and feel good in our body. And then we'll come back up and do a little ankle circles. I like to use the hand, but you obviously don't have to. Going in one direction with the ankle, and again, find the version of this that feels good. You can also have the foot on the floor and be moving the knee to get some articulation in the ankle, and then going the other direction, finding some movement there. There's so many little bones and joints in our feet, and we often don't stretch them out because we're wearing shoes and we are kind of constricting the feet. So some people like this and some people don't. We're going to give our foot a handshake, putting the fingers between each of the toes. If this does not feel good to you, then find a version that does. So that might mean doing each toe individually and separating the big toe from the second toe for a breath, and then separating the second toe from the third toe for a breath. So that's a gentler way of doing this. There's no one right or wrong way. You can also, if stretching the toes out really doesn't feel good, just give them a little massage. That helps with the circulation. So if you're like me and get some Raynaud's purple cold feet, bad circulation, doing some self massage can help stimulate those blood vessels, get the blood flowing, warm up the feet. Or if you're bold and you like the idea of the handshake, you can put the fingertips between the toes and then continue to rotate the ankle in one direction and then the other direction. And then we'll point the foot in one direction. And if you have the foot crossed at the ankle, you can do this on the floor by tucking the toes under so the top of the foot is facing the floor, and stretch that way. And then we'll flex the toes the other direction. And again, you can have the toes on the floor and stretch the bottom of the foot this way. This stretches the fascia on the bottom of the foot, which also can get really tight when we wear shoes. And then this feels good. You feel like, all right, my foot is nice and stretched out. We'll carry on crossing the knee over, the right knee over the left, and to come into an eagle pose. And you can always do this in ankle crossed position as well. But our goal is to zip up the legs, bringing the knees together and the thighs together, bringing the hips closer together, engaging the pelvic floor, sitting up nice and tall. And then we'll give ourselves a nice big hug, opening the arms up and bringing the right arm underneath. And this might already feel great, opening up the shoulder blades. But if you're looking for a little more, you're looking for something a little bit different, you can start raising the elbows towards the nose, or experiment with dropping the elbows towards the chest, and play with what version of the shoulder opener feels good in your body today, and then breathe into that back. So getting nice and tall, breathing into the back, and maybe find a drishti or one point of focus where you can find some stillness, looking at one little corner of a picture frame or one little piece of fuzz, breathing in and out. And then coming out gently by opening up the arms, shaking them out. And we'll end with a little twist on the side before we go to the other side. So bringing the left hand to the outside of the right thigh and twisting over the right shoulder, getting tall on the inhale and twisting on the exhale. And as always, hang on to the chair if you're looking for more stability, or if you want to test your balance, bending the arm behind. And don't forget to breathe. And then slowly untwisting. You can use the eyes to draw a line across the wall ahead of you to keep yourself from getting lightheaded or dizzy. And then we'll uncross and do that same sequence on the left. And again, you might want to do some movement or action to counteract that sequence. Again, marching or opening and closing the knees or wiggling the hips, whatever it is. And then we'll come back into our nice tall seat. And this time crossing the left over the right, either at the ankle. Again, we're looking to open the hip, or at the knee. And you might already feel this really strongly, and it might be different on the left or the right side. So don't worry if on one side the knee is up higher or down lower. We are not nearly as symmetric as sometimes we like to think. And then we'll engage the core, sit up nice and tall, and hinge forward any amount. Engaging the core and sitting up nice and tall protects the lower back and keeps us from just tweaking it or causing any pain. It kind of keeps things nice and safe. And then again, it's okay to use the hands on the legs for support or balance, but try not to put too much pressure directly on the knee. Hang on to the thigh, the fleshy bits, so that you're not putting pressure on the joint. And don't forget to breathe. If you have found, okay, this feels good, I'm okay here, you can sit up tall again and hinge forward another inch until you feel the left side of the outer thigh and into the hip light up. Finding a place where you feel the balance between, your own effort and ease, where you could stay here for a long time. And then coming back up nice and slowly, and we'll circle the ankle on this side. And again, you can do this on your own. This side for me is more challenging, so I do like to use the hand. I feel like I get a bigger range of motion, but it is always your choice. And then switching directions, going the other way. And pointing the toes, feeling the stretch on the top of the foot into the ankle. And flexing the toes, feeling the stretch on the bottom of the foot. And as always, you can do this on the floor as well, if that feels more stable and better in your body. And then we'll get into our toe stretches on the side. And again, you can do the full handshake, putting each finger between the toes, but if that's not comfortable or that's not happening today, see if you can do one by one, just putting a finger between the big toe and the second toe, and then between the second toe and the third toe, stretching the third and fourth toe, stretching the fourth and pinky toe. And if that doesn't feel great, just give your toes a little massage. Again, warm them up, get the circulation flowing. If you find a spot that feels particularly tender, linger there for a little bit. Give it some TLC, give it a little bit of extra love and care. Or do the full foot handshake. It's tougher for me on this side for some reason. There we go. And again, I like to do it with the ankle circles, but you figure out what you like to do, what feels good in your body. And then we'll do a eagle pose on this side. So crossing the left further over the right, either at the knee or at the ankle, thinking about zipping up the legs together, squeezing the knees together, squeezing the hips together, engaging the pelvic floor, sitting up nice and tall, and giving yourself a nice big hug, this time with the left arm underneath, reaching for opposite shoulders, finding the breath, feeling the back open up. Maybe you're fine right where you are, or maybe you play with lifting the shoulders up to change where the stretch is, or bringing the elbows down towards the chest to change where the stretch is, and then breathing into any tight areas, finding a single point of focus, and breathing. coming out the opposite way. And we'll end with a twist on this side, looking this time over the left shoulder, turning the head, turning the torso, maybe bringing the right hand to the outside of the left thigh, getting tall on the inhale, twisting on the exhale. And slowly untwisting so we don't get dizzy, using the eyes to draw a line across the wall, and then uncrossing the legs and doing whatever you need to do, maybe marching out the feet or opening and closing the knees or windshield wipering to the left and to the right, whatever it is. Finding your way back into your Tadasana, your mountain pose, your tall seat. And then we will come into a sequence that uses the pelvic tilt. So this might be difficult to see. We're going to tip the pelvis to the front. So imagining your cat-cows, but really, really tiny, tipping the pelvis towards the front, and then looking up towards the ceiling, really nice and small, and then tucking the chin and rounding the tailbone, tucking the tailbone under, very teeny, teeny, tiny, and then switching again, tipping the pelvis and looking up, and then tucking the tailbone and looking down, pressing the feet into the floor, tipping the pelvis and looking up, and then tucking the tailbone and looking down. And now if you want to expand this into a bigger cat-cow, you can, or you can stay where you are, but we're focused on the hips rather than the back bend and the transition between the pelvic tilt forward and backwards, focusing on the hips. And again, if you want to make this bigger and include the back, that's great, but there's no need. It's really up to you. And then we'll find that balance point right between where the hips feel super grounded. And then maybe you bring the arms up into cactus arms, or maybe you bring the hands to the shoulders. And we'll inhale one direction, exhale to center, inhale the other direction, and exhale to center. And these can be as fast or as slow as feels good in your body. Thinking about keeping the knees parallel. Sometimes the knees want to move in this. Thinking about keeping the feet and the hips where they are and focusing on twisting the torso. So moving from the waist rather than from the knees and the hips, because you can see that can get kind of loosey-goosey. Be really stable in the lower half of your body and inhaling and exhaling with the movement in the upper half of your body. And if you want to change the arm position, you can try arms out, or you can try moving the hands from one side to the other side. Getting deeper into the twist. And then coming back into your nice tall seat. We will do one more big leg stretch before we do a meditation in a final resting position. If you have a belt or strap, that can be helpful, but it's not necessary. We're going to stretch the back of the legs. So I like to come to the edge of my seat just so that I can straighten out the other leg a little bit more, but find what feels good in your body. And if you don't have a strap, no big deal. You sit up nice and tall and hinge forward to feel the stretch down the back of the leg. Or if you want to use the strap, you can bring it underneath the foot and flex the toes up, so you either straight ahead or heel on the floor. And again, sitting up nice and tall, and then hinging forward until you feel the stretch. You can also rest the foot on another chair or on a footrest, if that feels better to you. But with this stretch, sometimes it takes a little while to really feel the full effects. So we're going to stay here for a minute. And then as you bring the toes back, if you are using a strap, thinking about getting the pinky toe side and the big toe side even. So for me, sometimes the pinky toe side of the foot wants to go away and the big toe side wants to come forward. And so with my strap, I'm really adjusting to make sure both sides of the feet are parallel. And again, inhaling and maybe hinging forward, breathing, finding the stretch, pressing the heel away, getting nice and tall, using the left foot as the stability. Nice, slow, gentle breaths. If the shoulders have creeped up, letting them sink back down.
No, yeah.
And then slowly letting that stretch go. If you have the strap, taking it away, bringing the same way we did before, bringing the heel back in towards the chair, and then switching to the other side. So extending, for me, that's going to be the left foot and making the left leg long, inhaling to sit up nice and tall, and exhaling to hinge forward. Or if you want to use the strap, hooking the strap underneath the left foot, and making sure that the big toe side and the pinky toe side are even. Inhaling to sit up nice and tall, exhaling to fold forward, any amount, breathing in and out through the nose where you can, but if you can't, it's totally fine. Feeling the stretch, perhaps all the way from the heel up to the hip, all the way down the back side of the legs. And as always, you can be doing this on the floor or with another chair or with a footrest, whatever feels good to you. And then when you're ready, sitting back up nice and tall, if you're using a strap, unhooking it from the bottom of the foot, setting that aside, and then using the heel, dragging that back towards you. For me, the left side is more challenging. I didn't get nearly as far. That's okay. I can use my hands to bring the knees back to hip width distance and the feet back to parallel. And if there's any other stretch, any other position, any other asana that you think we missed or that you want to go back to, something that you enjoyed doing, take a minute now to feel into your body, ask your body what it wants, see what it would like to do, and then do that. Maybe you want more stretching or twisting or maybe it's the more into the wrists and hands, maybe it's more into the neck, or maybe you feel like this was sufficient and you're just gonna sit and focus on your breath. Both are equally good, and there's no right or wrong here. You just have a little bit of time to do what you need to do. You can give yourself a little massage if that feels good. And then when you are ready, take your time. There is absolutely no rush. We'll come into a posture that's even more comfortable. So what that might mean is putting something behind your back. It might mean putting on another layer. Maybe if your socks are off and you're someone who does get cold feet, put some socks on, or you wrap yourself in a blanket, whatever it is. And we'll come back to the breath again. You can close your eyes if you like, but that's by no means necessary. If that doesn't feel good or it makes you dizzy or for whatever reason, you can just lower your gaze. Have a soft gaze. Focus on one point. All we're trying to do is block out some of the external distractions, all of the things we can see, so that we can focus on what's going on inside. Bringing the breath back down into the belly. Inhaling and let the belly rise. Exhale, let the belly sink. Filling the lungs. Bringing that intention that you set in the beginning of class back. Thanking the intention for showing up for you today, and not beating yourself up if you didn't meet it every moment, because that's not feasible and that's not helpful. And then let the intention go, sinking into your hips, feeling the floor underneath your feet. Resting in this moment. Perhaps you tell yourself, I'm inhaling on every inhale, and I am exhaling on every exhale. And we'll end with a 5 senses meditation, starting with this felt sense. So what can you feel? How does the floor feel beneath you? What's the temperature of the air? How does the chair feel beneath your seat? Are your clothes touching your body? Can you feel the cloth against your skin? Can you feel the breath on your lip or coming through your throat? Are there any other sensations that you feel, maybe internally or on your skin? A rumble of the belly. Just acknowledging those. And then moving from the sense of touch into the sense of smell. So there might be a strong smell where you are. It might be more subtle. It might be more focusing on the breath, the quality of the air, whether it's cold or warm. Usually it's colder on the inhale and feels warmer on the exhale. Or maybe bringing to mind a favorite smell and any memories associated with it. They say that smell is the sense that is most closely associated with memory formation. And then let go of that sense. And we'll come to the sense of hearing. So, what can you hear? I know that today I can hear my partner working in the next room, and I'm just taking that as part of the meditation. And instead of getting annoyed or frustrated, I just say, okay, this is what's happening right now. So maybe there's a sound near you inside your house, a small sound of a person or an animal. Or maybe there's a sound outside like traffic or birds or whatever it is. Just acknowledge it. You can label it if you like, but no need to dive too far into thinking about it. So there's one thing labeling, saying this is a truck or this is a bird, this is the sound of the pipes. And then there's another thing to follow that train of thought, saying, oh, I hear the pipes. I forgot I really need to do this thing or talk to this person, or hearing the car and then wondering who's in it or where they're going. And that's the practice of bringing it back to the present moment. What's going on right now? What senses? How can you use your senses just to acknowledge what's happening? And then we'll move from hearing to the sense of taste. What does your tongue feel like in your mouth? How do your teeth feel? Is there a taste in your mouth currently, or is it more neutral? How does it feel to swallow? And then finally moving to the sense of sight. First, just visualizing the room without adjusting, without opening the eyes or without raising the gaze. Picturing in your mind's eye what's around you, what details you might be able to see, what objects might be near you. And then very slowly blinking open the eyes or raising the gaze, and just looking around the room, acknowledging what can you see, what colors, what textures. And again, not getting caught up in the story of the objects, but it's fine to label, oh, there's a bed, there's a desk, there's a picture on the wall. Let's take a moment to acknowledge the space you're in. Give some gratitude for your 5 senses. And when you're ready, you can carry on with your day.